What do you say to those who say that wrestling is not an official sport because the outcome is already predetermined, right? So that's a big thing with sports where we don't know the outcome, but because the outcome is determined, it officially is not considered a sport legally. It's considered an entertainment business.
Yep.
What is your take or say about that?
I would say that anybody who says that needs to get into a ring, find a place where you can get into a ring, run the ropes for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Start taking some back bumps.
Huh.
And then you tell me if it's not a sport.
Okay.
The athleticism that's needed. I mean, even if you're not one of the chiseled up, whatever, like those bumps hurt.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to another episode of the Think RBA podcast. And coming to the ring is the upcoming heavyweight champion of our virtual league. And with the belt, the title holder, the man himself, Ayo!
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, man? What's going on, man?
What's going
I just
on?
have to get into the...
Mr. Okada. The crowd goes wild.
Man, I'm just trying to get into character. I'm trying to get into character.
We have to.
Right? Because there was a certain event that reminded me so much of you, man. I'm not a big, like, you know, like I dabble here and there, but but I know you're like the guy. You're the savant.
The savant.
You're the savant of wrestling, right? WWE specifically. And there's a big event that just recently happened. SummerSlam, right? It's one of the big four, I guess you can call it.
Yes, sir.
One of the big four. And SummerSlam, like from my recollection, is one of those, like, you stop what you're doing if you're a wrestling fan to watch SummerSlam. It's like a packed arena.
The football stadium.
Yeah, football stadium. Like,
Sheesh. They were at the Cleveland Browns Stadium this year.
Okay.
I believe last year was in, if I recall correctly, it was Detroit Ford Field. I mean, yeah, when you like your big shows are stadium shows now.
Stadium.
Crazy,
right?
Crazy.
And you know what's crazy is that I never thought wrestling would become so big where foreign countries are hosting these big events, right? So maybe that'll become one of the future, like...
Oh, no, man. Without a doubt. I mean, I think most of the premium live events in between all of the big four this year were all in other countries. We had Elimination Chamber, which was in between Rumble and Mania, and that was in Australia. We had something in France. Was it Backlash? Backlash, I think, was in France. We had Clash at the Castle, which was in Scotland, and there's more to come. There's another one that's going to be happening in Berlin coming up. And so, yeah, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, they're big.
King of the Ring. That's where King of the Ring was in Saudi. And these are big venues that they're selling out, which just goes to show how hot the business is right now. I mean, like, we haven't seen anything like this since the Attitude Era, which is, you know, what everybody goes back to when Austin and Rock and Taker and DX and everybody else was just like the business on fire back then. But man, this is some next level stuff right now.
This next level. Well, speaking of next level, this event, SummerSlam, that just happened, right? How was that event? Like, what was the build up like? And then what was the actual event like? Did it deliver?
So, as the kids say, cinema.
Okay. Oh, you got the new kid slang nowadays? Look at you.
Yeah,
Look at you.
I mean, or the streets. I don't know. One of the two. I don't know if it's the kids or the streets, but all I know is everywhere I look, they're talking about like even different parts of different angles of different storylines. They're like cinema. And the show didn't even have every storyline on it. Because for a 4-hour show, like normally there's some ups and downs. I mean, it was jam packed to the point where, I mean, there's maybe one or a little bit of a match, but even that match still had some spots in it that were like kept you in it. Like I felt like it started off and took me to a high, and I just kept that high.
Wow.
For like 4 hours
though? Man, that's
4 hours.
Okay.
And then I tried to watch the post show and I just crashed.
That's crazy, man. 4 hours of just keeping you at that high that's some elite script writing.
So I'll just say this: the buildup was magnificent. The storylines, everything. since the transition of power from the McMahon family to TKO Sports, and then with Triple H, who is now in charge of creative. I mean, my goodness, like the storylines have been amazing. There was a time in wrestling where you couldn't do long time storytelling. Like it was like everybody wanted, immediate
right.
Instant
reward.
Gratification. It's instant. So like you have a storyline that will last, from one pay-per-view to another and then move on to the next thing. And now we've got like the Bloodline storyline, which started in the pandemic and is like 4 years going. And now we have like a second version with two bloodlines potentially. That's now. Crazy. And this whole long-term storytelling just go like how many Samoans are out there that keep joining the bloodline. There are so many of them because that, talk about one of the greatest wrestling family dynasties, but just saying like, that's how the storylines have been. So, I don't always get a chance to watch everything week to week. The summertime has been better though, because obviously, kids are out of school and but we've had some different activities on different nights. I don't always get a chance to watch everything, but I try to keep up with the highlights of the stories and everything. And they've done a master class in just writing. Again, like we've talked about it before.
Yeah,
this is one of the longest reigning weekly episodic television shows.
Right.
So they're writing drama, but with the sports and athletics, twist that we argued so
we did
so intensely about. Right. But we saw it. There was one pretty almost dangerous spot in There was another one a couple pay-per-views ago we didn't talk about too, where dude got his leg twisted up in the ropes, and I don't know how he didn't tear anything. But those are the risks.
Yes,
right?
the risk of the.
They did a masterclass job of writing everything leading up to it that kept you intrigued, and you kind of thought things would play out one way or another, but you weren't really sure, right? And I know we're going to get into some of that stuff, but like there were things like, man, this is what I think is going to happen. It probably should happen. It makes sense. But I don't really know 100% if that's what they're going to do. And I think that's the best.
That's the plot twist.
That's the best storytelling.
Yeah, of course it is. Keeps you on the edge of your seat. Yeah, no, that's. So I'm assuming like there's a lot of with the way the matches come through. Is it the same thing? Like you have your build up to that elite final match.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you're always going to have your pay-per-view.
Right.
Here, that's your marquee match. But I mean, like this was one of those where there are some pay-per-views you just know, like you usually start off with a hot match, you have some filler in between, and then you have a middle where you bring it back up again, and there's some filler in between, and then you have your main event and bring it back up, crescendo at the end. But like this one was just they all deliver so well. I mean, most delivered by and large, it delivers so well that it kept you going like what's going to happen next? Well, and where are they going to go with this story?
Well, which one least delivered, I guess, is the better question. Right?
So I think the whole internet wrestling community, the IWC, which is apparently a thing.
Okay. Hashtag
IWC. I think everybody would agree is probably the Nia Jax Bailey match, which didn't really have as much drama. Title change. I think everybody expected it. One thing is because I mean, as a fan, just kind of and an older fan who's watched the product long enough, one thing new they did this year was they had a King of the Ring tournament, through a couple of weeks, and then it culminated with crowning a King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring in the Saudi pay-per-view a couple months ago. And so new this year, the King and Queen of the Ring got a title shot at SummerSlam.
Okay. And
so like the first time, like obviously they're going to win, right? Because why would you win King of the Ring or Queen of the Ring and not win the title? I mean,
makes sense.
I kind of figured that was going to happen. So I figured that there's going to be a title change. It was kind of slow to start with. I definitely felt like it was one of those, okay, bring us down matches. But there were still some spots in there that were pretty good. Like you just kind of like casually watching it and you kind of feel like you know what's going to happen. The only drama is, okay, whether Tiffany Stratton's going to cash in, but didn't think that was going to happen. So, but then there were some good spots that I was surprised by some of the strength and athleticism that they displayed in that match. But yeah, that's probably the one I would say that was like if you were going to rank all of the matches, that one would have been the last. But that's like probably a better match on some of the other previous premium live events. So
okay, so just ranked amongst that group, it was at the lower end.
Had to be.
However, So then on the flip side, which one did deliver?
All of them. I mean, if I had, so I have to choose
pick one.
I was about to say, do I have to choose one?
Yes.
So I think the one that delivered the most for advancing the potential storylines was actually 2. And it really was actually the storyline of the dismantling of the Judgment Day. Which the Judgment Day, you know, they have
not Sarah Connor, right?
No. But they, you know, there has been this whole build up with Liv Morgan. So Liv Morgan got taken out injured by Rhea, and she said she was going to come back on a revenge tour. She injured Rhea, put Rhea on the shelf, you know, storyline. Yeah. She's on the shelf and said, yeah, I'm on my revenge tour. I'm going to take everything that you love. So she won the title. She was trying to take Dominic Mysterio, who.
Why does this sound like the Terminator?
No, it's definitely, it's a drama, right? Like it's a drama. It's a, you know, little love triangle thing going on. And, you know, leading up to, I mean, the Monday Night Raw right before, you know, he cut a promo, was like, I hate you, Liv, da 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 da. And then boom, what did he do? Helped her win, turned on her, gave her a kiss in the aisle. Like, it was like, wait a minute, he turned on what he always called Rhea his mommy. Because it's a shade back to his uncle Eddie Guerrero, who wrestled in the for those who don't know, wrestled in the 90s and in the early 2000s and passed away. But he was always called Poppy, and so then they gave her this mommy name, and he was her mommy. But now they're divorced, I guess. I guess they're divorced. But he's now with Liv, and then on the flip side, Finn Balor, he interfered and helped Gunther, who was King of the Ring, beat Damian Priest, who was the other. So Rhea and Damian were kind of like the leaders, per se, of the Judgment Day. So anyway, long story short, what's crazy about the whole thing is, besides the fact that the group is just imploding, is that when, like, long-term storytelling that they never used to do, when the Judgment Day first got put together a year and a half, 2 years ago, whatever it was, might have been 2.5 years ago at this point, the first 2 members were Rhea and Damian, along with a guy named Edge, who's not there anymore. But you know who the first 2 people they attacked were? Liv Morgan and Finn Balor. Okay. And they're the 2 that just helped to dismantle the Judgment Day 2.5 years later, right? Wow. It's like, so I think, like, to me, it was those 2 matches I think have done the most, because, like, where do they go from here? Does Finn create his own, or is he now like the leader of the Judgment Day and they kick them out? Does he keep Dom, or Dom and Liv didn't do their own thing? Like, so many questions. I believe Finn's going to lead a new group with Dom and Liv and the other guys that are there. And then the other 2 are going to get kind of pushed out to do their own things on the singles side. But there's a lot of questions, right? And that's the best part, is there's a lot of, when they leave you with a lot of questions, because now you got to tune in. Correct. Now I gotta watch. And I won't be able to watch because I'll be at football practice, but I'll be still invested. Yeah,
you'll be keeping
in the highlights to see that little. It was between 2 matches, which was like even better. It all didn't happen in one match. Right. And so one was in the first match and one was in the middle of the card. So, like, it was this whole, like, what's happening with the Judgment Day? They're having literally the worst night of their group's time together. So to me, I think, like, that was the one I think that maybe delivered the most. But there is, I mean,
sounds like a whole lot of drama.
My goodness.
Like one big soap opera.
It's great.
So, you know, when you were explaining it to me earlier, right? You know, the meme of the person and then the mathematical figures. that would be me at that point, like trying to connect like the dots and Because again, like, you really got to be following long term historically. Right. But what it does seem like, though, is that they more than delivered. With that whole process, and it probably shook the whole wrestling community, the IWC, and got Twitter moving.
Well, and not only that too, but, like, so take the storylines out of it. Athletically, and the matches were insane. Right.
Oh, just from an athletic standpoint.
Yeah. Rhea pops her shoulder out and you can literally see, like, her shoulder popped out and she, like, pops it back in place. And
the way she popped it.
Yeah. She rammed against, I was like, and then she, like,
that's crazy.
But there was, like, athletically, the matches all delivered, you know, like and you could just run through the whole card, like from them to Logan Paul, LA Knight, which I thought, okay, that's probably going to be one of those down matches, right? Like, Logan Paul is, let me tell you, let me talk to you. That's what LA Knight says. But say what you want about Logan as a YouTuber and social media guy, and he's had his fair share of controversies. Including recently, literally this week. We're not going to get into that one because it was highly politicized and we're steering away from politics. But he had some controversy. So say what you want about that side. I got nothing to talk about there. But when it comes to him in a ring, in a WWE ring, like this dude is such a natural. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody from outside of the wrestling world come in and pick it up the way he has. Like, his second match was at WrestleMania. His third match was at SummerSlam. Like, wow, a couple years. He's
a natural.
He got it. And he's athletic. He's got the look. He can cut promos because he's been basically cutting promos on YouTube, like different ways. Right. So he's not uncomfortable in front of a microphone. Right. And yeah, he just like has that natural it factor. If he wanted to do it full time, like he could do it full time. So when you talk about like, if we were to rank the greatest celebrities to ever get in there and do it, he's number one on my list.
Number one?
Oh, easy.
Wow.
Easy, because there's nobody else that can do it to the level that he's able to do it. He's a natural heel.
An outsider.
Yeah. Like not just an outsider, because there are other outsiders, right? They recruit people from, it's Olympic time, right? Yeah. They recruited Kurt Angle after he won a gold angle with a broken freaking neck. Mark Henry was in the world strongman competition. You know, you've got, we talked about Braun Breaker in one of the matches. Yeah. You know, he played football. He was, did a brief stint in the NFL. He's one of the Steiner brothers kids, but like they recruit outsiders, I guess, from other sports and athletics. But they run through the performance center system. They get trained. They spend a lot of time. They go through NXT, the developmental system, before they ever make it up to the main roster. Okay. But I'm talking about a celebrity who just trains for a little bit and then they get put into a primetime match on a big pay-per-view or a big premium live event or a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam. Like, best to ever do it.
Best
hands down.
Ever do it.
Hands down.
So which Paul is the better performer?
In wrestling?
No, just between the two. Who would you want to go watch?
Oh, I mean, for me, it's Logan because I'm more of a wrestling fan.
You're more a wrestling
boxing.
fan. I got it.
And also, too, Jake Paul doesn't box boxers.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, not yet. Anyway, Logan is in there and he's competing and he did. I mean, I showed you we watched the clip of
that's crazy.
That turnaround. Like,
it was nice. It was nice.
Not only, how athletic and like the balance you need to have to be able to do that and then spring yourself into a moonsault.
A reverse, yeah.
Like maybe some smaller lucha guys could do that.
He's a big dude.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's
athletic, very athletic.
Very athletic.
Okay. So, I saw, what's his name? The musician.
Jelly Roll.
Jelly made a little brief appearance.
He did.
Pulled out a classic move.
A classic move.
Right?
Pulled out the Undertaker's choke slam. The classic. And then he did the John Cena 5-knuckle shuffle boom on the forehead. It was a textbook choke slam.
Textbook.
But that's another one too, where again, like it's, of course it's all scripted. Everybody knows it's scripted. It's storylines, but you still have to work together, with whoever you're working with.
It's like synchronized wrestling. In
right. Because that choke slam doesn't work if Austin Theory,
the guy getting choke slammed,
jump. Right. Like, especially for a guy like Jelly Roll, who, I mean, all he had to do really was stand there and move his arm. It looked like
he actually did it.
Right. But kudos to Austin Theory because he sold everything out of that.
Yeah. No, it looked for real.
It looked great. For real, yeah. And it looked really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, really
good. It was very good theatrics.
Yes.
Or performance theatrics. So, best spot of the night.
Best spot of the night. We kind of just hit on it, but for me, I think the best spot of the night was, wrestling wise, athletically, I think it was the Logan Paul move because him pulling that out. And again, and sometimes when guys pull out those super athletic moves or they're jumping, even if sometimes they jump off the top and they they'll moonsault, but it's into a crowd of people because you got more bodies to help brace your fall.
Yes.
Like he did that like he started on one side, open. He jumped up, turned, and then he did
a 180.
It's crazy.
And then a flip
in the air, and then sprung off the ropes, did a moonsault on one guy. Didn't do it in the crowd, did it on one guy. Like if they're not synchronized well, that could be disastrous.
It could be.
Anytime that these guys jump from the mat to the top rope, like just blows my mind. Because
top rope to the mat.
No, from the mat to the top rope. They jump from the mat to the top rope. Like that. So LA Knight did it. Braun Breaker did it. Braun Breaker does his. Bro, his is crazy. I know we watched the clips of him moving the ring.
Yeah.
How athletic he is. But he has a spot, and he does this frequently. He jumps from the mat to the top rope where his opponent is, and then he he's not holding them. He's just standing there. Like by himself. Keeping his balance on these ropes that are right. And then he goes, oh, and then he puts his legs between their head and flips them.
That's crazy.
Like crazy.
That's athletic, man.
And so that's a great spot. But I just didn't put it above the Logan Paul because he's done that on like Monday Night Raw and things like. But again, like any time that you're jumping from the mat all the way to the top, that's a big jump. And you have to balance yourself on the ropes. And so and then Cody did it too in the main event. So I just was like, any of those spots always get me because that's some next level athleticism that is not natural. Like you gotta work at that.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Except for Braun Breaker, it appears to be natural for him.
All right, match of the night.
Well, hold on. So we back to spots.
Sure.
Real quick. I'm sorry. I apologize because I was talking about the physical like
act of.
The actual, like, for me, I think the spot of the night for pure, like, wrestling purists in me, like, that just enjoys a tough, hard-fought wrestling match is, I want to say, surprisingly, Gunther and Damian Priest. Because it was just two big guys, two meaty men slapping meat.
Pause.
No, so...
Pause.
So the IWC will understand what I'm saying because this is a shout out to Big E. He was trying to talk about how like, yeah, seeing all the guys flipping around is great, but sometimes just getting two big men in there, like beating each other up, slapping like a lot of the chops. Yeah. The one of the things Gunther is very famous for is the chops.
Okay.
I mean, he'll even take you and he'll just be like, and like. And like their chests start opening up, and like that was something he had a match against Finn Balor on Raw a couple of days before, and they chopped the living daylights out of each other.
Okay,
and so Gunther still had marks on his chest.
Oh wow!
And when Priest started chopping him, he started bleeding.
Oh wow!
Naturally, just bleeding from those chops. I mean, that's how again scripted but not fake.
Yeah.
It's scripted, but they still hit each other, and they go like they threw some potatoes, and they were going hard. And so sometimes it's nice just to watch one of those because a lot of it is super athletic choreography.
Yeah,
and you can kind of see if you watch it long enough, like I have, like, okay, they're setting up to do this, to do this, to do this. I kind of generally know what's going to come next.
The formula
in a sequence.
Yeah.
And then they'll do a bunch of little mini sequences. But this is just like two guys, just like two big guys. They're both real tall. Neither one of them is super skinny. And it's like, let's just beat the hell out of each other for 20, 25 minutes. And so to me, like that would have been the spot of the night in terms of just like the wrestling purists, like those chops.
Okay.
I don't want to ever be on the side of either one of them chopping my chest. That just hurt just for me doing it.
Okay. Well, then the match of the night.
The match of the night, I think I'm going to have to give that one to the whole Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. There was a lot of questions. So CM Punk came back to WWE after 10 years last November at the end of Survivor Series. One of the other big four. He did not wrestle until the Royal Rumble. He got in the Royal Rumble, And then he got injured, tore his triceps, and he's been out ever since.
Okay.
So this was his first singles match. Storyline has been great leading up to it, especially because of the real life hatred and issues between especially CM Punk and Seth Rollins, and also between him and Drew. There's just a lot of just like nobody ever thought CM Punk was ever going to come back to the WWE like that. That was one of those like you never say never, but never kind of things.
Except that it wasn't.
Except that, well, again, like transfer of the company, Vince moves out.
Yeah.
TKO comes in, even though Triple H is still there, and they had, beef. I think you and I talked about this. This is a little side tangent, but like wrestling is one of those sports where even if I dislike you, everything in my being, if it's in the best interest of the business and for us to make money, we'll go out there and do that. And we can use that real life hatred to fuel the promos and a storyline because that's going to make it more real.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go out there and hurt you, and you're not going to go out there and hurt me.
Right.
Because that's not what's best for business. What's best for business is for us to go out there and do what has been put forward for us to do.
Right.
If it was determined that you're going to go over or beat me, okay, well, I'm going to do everything that I need to do. I'm going to get my stuff in and you get your stuff in, and then we'll go according to the story because that's going to lead to whatever's next. And we make some even more money together.
Right.
Even if I don't like you. And that's the one sport where it's like, people put aside for the most part. I'm sure that there's some inner workings behind the scenes, backstage stuff that people like myself and the IWC are not privy to. But like people will almost have to, because if you go into what they call go into business for yourself and you don't, you become somebody that people don't want to work with. Because everything is about what's best for the business.
The business, right?
And that's just, to me, one of the things I think that separates WWE from other sports, because nobody, you have personal issues in other sports. Players get traded. They get,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it ends up not working. Nobody is like, all right, I'm going to put this to the side so we can go out there and.
Yeah, well, in this sport, it's about working together rather than against each other, really.
Right. Especially when you are doing moves that,
Right. It's the stake of somebody else's well-being is in your hands. And that makes sense.
Yeah. So no, to me, that was the match of the night, because it wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't a ton of spots in terms of like acrobatics, but there were a lot of good storyline spots. And again, it leaves you with so many questions, like where are they going to go next? Is it setting up for CM Punk versus Seth Rollins next year at WrestleMania? Is CM Punk going to keep going after Drew McIntyre because Drew beat him and he took his the whole storyline was around how Punk has been like screwing him since WrestleMania. He screwed him out of the title. He screwed him out of some of his other stuff, his Money in the Bank cash in. Okay. And then one time Drew like beat him down and he took CM Punk's necklace with his wife's name and dog's name on it. Okay. And so like that's his personal thing. So like he took that bracelet back.
Yeah. I saw that.
Like, it's where is the story going to go? And because it's the three of them, there's a lot of different angles that you can explore. So it delivered well.
So with that delivering well, like the storyline, is that the storyline that intrigues you the most though? Or how about like moving forward? Is that the one you're most excited to kind of see what's about to happen, or something else?
Something else. Okay. Which was the biggest one of the night. Oh. Which was Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. Okay. And, for just to catch you up, this has been a while. So, Roman had the bloodline. Yeah. Solo was in it. Paul Heyman's the wise man. He had the Usos. Jay Turn. Jay's now babyface. He got out of the bloodline. Jimmy tried to get out, then went back. And then when Roman lost his title at WrestleMania, there was kind of this uneasy time where, okay, well, we don't know what's happening with the bloodline right now. And then after a few weeks or month, Solo stepped in and said, I'm the new tribal chief. And he's self-declared. He recruited some new guys who had been wrestling in, I think, Japan. So they're now with WWE. He recruited some new guys, formed his own kind of bloodline. He asked Paul Heyman to acknowledge him, as that was big. One of Roman's big things, acknowledge me, right? So Solo's Paul Heyman acknowledged me. as your tribal chief. And Paul Heyman was like, you are not my tribal chief. And then they put him through a table, and he's been out ever since. So like this whole like new bloodline has been brewing.
Okay.
So the question was, we don't know who's going to come at SummerSlam. Is Roman coming back? Because, Solo's been talking a lot of stuff about how, Roman knows where to find me. I'm the new tribal chief. He's wearing his tribal, I forget what it's called now. Right. Yeah. And basically trying to be him. Yeah. It was always like, well, is Roman going to come back, or is it too soon? Will The Rock come back? Right? Because The Rock is still ingrained into this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And The Rock still has issues with Cody. Maybe is The Rock behind this? Is The Rock one that pushing Solo? Which is still a question. We don't know. Will Jay come out? Will Jimmy come out? Because Jimmy's been out solo and then beat him up. So like, there's a lot of questions about what would happen. Okay. And it was a bloodline rules match, just like at WrestleMania. So of course, there was some run-ins with the new bloodline members, and then I think Kevin Owens and Randy Orton were helping Randy. So then they all got out, and then finally it happened. Dun dun. And music hit, and it was our tribal chief, the real He had a shirt on that said OTC, and it was so funny because we were sitting there, and I forget who said was like, "What is OTC?" And I was like, original tribal chief. My brother-in-law was like, I was just about to say that as soon as you open your mouth, but we didn't know. Like they just let it be. What like that's how great it was. Like left it up to our imaginations, and we figured it out. Like like that. But he came out, did his thing, walked slowly to the ring. The crowd went crazy. So he left the bad guy. He left the heel. Yeah. But because of how they did all the storytelling without him even there, right? Like. Solo was such a heel that when he was doing promos, they would be chanting either a bad word, you Solo, or they would be chanting, we want Roman. We want Roman. We want Roman. And that build up. And then he came and the place went unglued.
And how long was Roman out for?
So the last time anybody saw him was Mania. So that was the beginning of April.
Oh, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, so he's been out. Nobody's seen him. He hasn't been on any shows since.
Maybe shooting him away.
So, probably. Yeah, I think he was. I think there was actually a movie or a show, something. But I mean, either way, it was like, that was the intent of the storyline was how do you, and this is what is so beautiful about wrestling to me, is they can write stories to turn you into a good guy, bad guy, like, and we eat it up. Right. Like the thing before the whole bloodline thing, when he was a bad guy and a tribal chief and everything, like there was years where he was getting booed because they were pushing him as this, they call him babyface, like he's like the next coming of John Cena. And they were pushing him. And the crowd was like, nope, we don't want him. Boo him out of the building. He won one of the Royal Rumbles. The Rock came out. They booed him out of the building. And now they're chanting, we want Roman. Like, it's like, as someone who's been watching that long, it's like, I find like respect for him for finally getting, what he deserves. Cause he's great. He truly is like one of the greatest.
Is he?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Sure. So that was, to me, that was the one like most intrigues me because now where are we going? Is it going to be like at Survivor Series? Are we getting original bloodline versus
the new bloodline?
No.
NTC?
No. There was a sign on Monday Night Raw that said Timu bloodline.
Timu.
Like Timu.
Oh, Timu.
It said Or it was on SmackDown. It said Timu bloodline.
Oh my God.
Behind Solo. What he was so like, are we getting the original bloodline versus the Timu bloodline? But who knows? And who's going to be on each side?
Yeah.
Because for Roman, if he wants to get the Usos, they got some reconciling to do. So there's just a lot of drama, but it's great because again, it gives me a reason to like want to tune in. I'm not like, oh, okay, that sucked.
Right.
Well, now what?
To be continued.
Like, again, and that was just one, like, so there's 4 or 5, 6 different storylines all within there. Okay. That are equally as interesting.
Okay.
But that's like the main.
That's the one. So final parting question for you. What do you say to those who say that wrestling is not an official sport because the outcome is already predetermined, right? So that's a big thing with sports where we don't know the outcome, but because the outcome is determined, it officially is not considered a sport legally. It's considered an entertainment business. Yep. What is your take or say about that?
I would say that anybody who says that needs to get into a ring, find a place where you can get into a ring, run the ropes for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Start taking some back bumps. And then you tell me if it's not a sport.
Okay.
The athleticism that's needed. I mean, even if you're not one of the chiseled up, whatever, like those bumps hurt. Running against those ropes are tight. That hurts people's back. Like it's an art form just to get used to how to run the ropes correctly. You could run the ropes incorrectly, and if you can get concussed,
hit it wrong.
You can hit it wrong. You can get underneath. It could you can get
tear
really
something, pull something.
I mean, so there's everything that they do. We talked about this in our episode about the most dangerous sports or the hardest sports. Everything they do, they're at like one thing goes wrong and they could be paralyzed. They could be dead. I mean, so many things. They could be out for a long time. There's wrestlers right now that are rehabbing. That Charlotte Flair hasn't been on TV in 9 months because she was doing a move coming across the top rope and then she slipped and tore ACL.
Ouch. Big
E is probably done for his career because a guy on a regular episode of SmackDown, not even a premium live event, gave him a belly to belly suplex and he didn't throw him hard enough and he didn't rotate fast enough and he landed on his neck.
Ow.
And broke his neck and probably won't wrestle again. I mean, I hope he does, but been out for like two and a half years now.
That hurts your livelihood.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's just a lot of, to me, I mean, to those I say, who cares what the outcome is? It's not about the outcome, but the athleticism, the toughness that's needed to perform. And again, you're performing, you're not under pads like football or anything else. Yeah. You're on live TV. You get one take. If you mess up like, and you got to do it with all those people focused in on you. Yeah. And one wrong thing can screw up the entire storyline, not only for yourself, but for everybody involved.
Right. So a lot of trickle down, trickle up, like impact that can happen based on an injury. But
I would tell them to go run some ropes and go take some back bumps, and then you tell me if it's a sport.
Well, there you go. There's your quest. If that's if that's how you feel. But I seriously, based on everything I heard today, I seriously think the NFL has hired WWE script writers with the way some of those storylines have come out.
Yeah, I don't think that it would be that easy to script the NFL, but it would be fun to do so.
I mean, I think some people beg to differ, but that's for another conversation, another day. But thank you for joining us. This was hilarious. This is fun. I appreciate you catching me up.
Yeah, I gotta catch my boy up a little bit. It was a great event, and if anybody hasn't seen it yet, I highly encourage you to go out and watch. It is 4 hours of entertainment well spent.
That's the impressive part. 4 hours though. Right? Go to a movie for an hour and a half, 2 hours. 4 hours.
4 hours.
Wow.
For like $5.
Kudos to WWE, man.
Yep.
Or for really keeping it entertaining.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So all right, sir. With that.
Until
next time. Hey, yo, title holder. I guess okay, challenger. And I Think RBA, all your social media platforms. Appreciate it. Deuces.
Peace.